All right.
Yeah. Just back, and we were.
Thank you for tuning in, and welcome to Night Errant. This is the show where we sit down and we rant and we have a few drinks and smoke a lot of cigarettes and Lasfar swears a lot and and that's basically what we do. We just talk out of our asses, and sometimes there is something useful in there, but most of the time it's our opinion on a subject we might actually not know very much about. Yeah, or at least that Lasfar might not know very much about.
Which is a really, really strange feeling for me.
Obviously. And today, I actually wanted to talk a bit about army selection, and as in why and how do you choose your armies, kill teams, warbands. I mean, what in a faction appeals to you? Is it the lore? Is it the models? Is it the gameplay, and why? Is it would I be able to paint those to look good and stuff like that? So let's start out with Sleeping Bear.
Yeah.
And why did you choose Necrons?
Well, I was gonna say that it's because I'm able to paint them so well. That's a lie. I don't paint a lot.
No, that's not true. You do paint a lot. Really, really a lot on one miniature. Like
He's been disallowed painting his own miniatures.
Yeah. However, for me it's lore first. I really, for me the lore, I have to be able to
Visualize?
not just visualize, but no, I have to be able to feel the lore, the feel, like when mosquito. Woo!
you have to be able to feel the mosquito.
Yeah, I have to be able to feel the mosquito in my hand.
That was pretty ninja.
Yeah, because Necrons are pretty ninja. And no. Anyways, what I have to be able to feel is like they have to be the heroes of their own stories.
Yeah.
In my head, like, and a lot of people think, why the hell would you choose the brainless undead?
Well,
and that
actually, if I remember correctly, if we go back a bit, it all started with you liking Kimry and their story.
yeah.
And that translates somewhat
From
to the Necrons.
fantasy.
Yeah, I don't particularly like vampire counts, or liked vampire counts back when they were
A thing.
A thing. Now it's all lumped together again. I think. Yeah.
Now the Kimry has just been kicked in the nuts and all the bones and thrown out the window, and the vampire counts have been split into 4 armies, I believe.
Okay. Anyways,
But all those armies are part of the same bigger faction or whatever.
Yeah, the Grand Alliance.
Yeah.
anyways, they translate really well there because they are not bad guys.
Exactly. Like
And not
Kimry.
at least not any more than the Empire, the Imperium, or Empire, or whatever you want to call them in whatever version of Warhammer you're playing, are bad guys. They have politics, they have alliances, and all that kind of stuff.
And while the Stormlord, at least from what I gather, is really a bad guy, he's just one out of many leaders from many dynasties.
Yeah. Now he is the biggest leader, except for the Silent King, of course. But the Silent King is very silent. We haven't heard from him in a while.
Hence the name.
Hence the name. But like a Nemesis Sandre, while he may be a kook, he's also quite sympathetic. He's like, now he might misunderstand, but he misunderstands everything and think that these guys are green Necrontyr who have bad tactics.
But that's not so different in reality from the Inquisition.
No.
I mean, the Inquisition are
I
self-righteous.
also think that Green Necron as well.
well, pretty much. I mean, the Inquisition, all the conflicts that makes them interesting on a larger scale is based on them being fanatics and not seeing the actual truth of anything.
Yeah. Where in Nemesis Sandre, it's actually he has a malfunction in his wires that makes him think that he just doesn't recall being transferred into, because he didn't, and I believe this is because he didn't want this to happen. He yearns for being a flesh and bone Necrontyr who just wants to get along actually with people, and then it's really hard being a robot.
Yeah, my guess is also that he would like to get old and die at some point soon.
Yeah, he really would. Now, but also like the character I created in accordance with Errant is Ben Gors. Ben Gors was in our story was a cryptech, very talented cryptech, who warned about the dangers of giving up all the flesh to the Catan in the first place, because he knew this would give the Catan powers over us. And he said, we can't do this, we will lose everything we are. However, he was disregarded, he was transferred and all that. But all he tries to do on Awesome is to talk to these stupid apes and make them understand that the real enemy is chaos.
And talk to his stupid overlord and makes him understand that
the real enemy is chaos and all that shit.
Yeah.
Speaking as the main chaos guy on Awesome, no, we're not.
Yeah, sure.
We just
along with the Eldar, who are
Happy-go-lucky.
also very chaos tainted. All of them. I won't hear anyone say differently.
No, but actually, I really like that we created a character who were, as the name suggests, he's based on Ben Gunn from the Treasure Island, and he was marooned when the other went to sleep. He was actually awake for all these many thousand years, which has left him rather crazy.
Yeah.
But he still have his ideals and his goals.
Yeah, and he believes that maybe he's the
it's just a
reverse.
scrap of reality that's been slightly warped.
Oh yeah, like
Well, he has been on Death World in a warp storm and awake for a very long time.
Yeah.
yeah, but I think the warp stone has affected him less than you might think, because exactly he's
It's kind of hard to make friends or raise pets.
he has his scarabs and his wraiths, whom he very much he treats them as people, because
I still imagine he also has like
Which is kind of funny because the way he treats people.
I just have a picture like he has like a dead marine in a jump pack hanging from a tree somewhere that he talks to.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think he does as well, but and I think he might at some
I need
point.
to build that.
I might at some point have him, if we get into a story that will allow it, he might actually start collecting gene seed to trade, because he found out that apparently is important.
Build something.
Either build something that could actually house the Necromancer in proper bodies, or
Or at least attempt.
I don't
like,
think he would succeed at any point.
No, but the idea is interesting.
Yeah.
And what exactly does this have to do with why you chose your army?
Well, because I can make stories about them,
Yes.
and I can make stories I like about them. Also,
There's a lot of blank pages to write on.
that's also true, because like if you take Dark Angels,
Especially if you do like I do. I just made Fifth Company, then I read all the books about Fifth Company, and now I'm painting up the characters to look like the characters from Fifth Company.
oh really?
And then I'm filling in the few blanks myself, like naming the unnamed sergeants and making those squads personalized and stuff like that. But I have my chapter master, I have the people who he is surrounded by according to the law. And that's funny enough. That's one of the things I like about collecting miniatures like that. I like to build it up and continue the story.
Yeah.
While with my my awesome guard, tech guard, Skitarian Knights and such,
Yeah.
I made up my own story completely. But I designed the whole planet around them and put them in a warp stone so they were in a vacuum, so that nobody could ever come and tell me that's not correct according to the law.
Yeah. That's cool. Also, another thing I really like about Necron, which I will admit I only found out like after I begun collecting them, is how versatile an army they are. Like, yes, this was a very immobile gun line, slowly moving forward. But if you
We
make
just
it,
played a game earlier.
yeah, we played a game. You can make, is what I should say, a very immobile, slow-moving blobs of just inexorable advance. The Silver Horde.
The
Basically.
Terminator army.
Yeah. But you can also make a almost purely Wraith, Scarab, Catan shots based shenanigans with movement. If you bring the Deceiver, and very salty, all that
Yeah.
jazz. And that
I know from one of my favorite channels to watch, I Dig Beer 40K. He has, I think, it's 60 flayed ones.
yeah, like
And he likes to field those with Wraiths as backup.
Yeah.
And basically play assault Necrons.
Yeah.
Without a pro gun line.
yeah, and you can do that.
No, you can't, because 60 flayed ones?
Yeah, that's a lot of conversion.
There are 5 poses?
Yeah, that's a lot of conversion. But also, and if you bring Emotech, they become very viable. Or if you do the Deceiver monolith triggery shit.
Well,
as
we
well.
need a monolith.
Yeah, I need a monolith.
I need to paint a monolith. That would be so fun.
Yeah.
Especially because our paint scheme lends itself really well to big things, and I've mainly been painting infantry so far. Thanks to Ronan for coming up with the paint scheme, by the way. I thought it would be a quick speed painting job to make Necrons. But
Yeah.
no, we could not have green rods and metal colored guys. It had to be blue toned metal and blue rods.
I think you actually were the one with the idea for the blue rods.
I'm always...
Don't forget the base trim.
Oh yeah, snakebite leather. There is only so many pots of that stuff left in the universe.
Oh, and the glue. Don't forget the glue.
I think we need to get Ronan in here and talk to him about that.
Anyways, how did you end up choosing...
Not to play an army?
Yeah.
No, but actually, the first thing you wanted to get into was Gene Steel Cult, and that was because you wanted to play the suppressed labor union, right?
Yes. Well, that's...
For those of you who've been following along, we talked about this in the last episode before Sleeping Bear got into it. Never mind, we're not going to go back there.
I'll just make the quick recap on why I would have chosen Gene Steel Army for my first army if that had been an option back then. That was in the final days of 2nd edition. I was just getting into 40k.
Being a fantasy player.
I already played fantasy. I was just... some of my friends had started playing 40k. They were still also fantasy players, luckily.
Remember back then when they were fantasy players,
Yeah.
not just collectors.
Yeah. But I wanted to get into it as well, and there was an event with a tournament. I just decided I want to play in this tournament, and I just said I need to play Gene Stealer Cults. Of course, then 3rd edition came out, and they decided to run that tournament for the 3rd edition rules, and Gene Stealer Cults had been removed from the universe.
Out from
Unfortunately.
the universe.
Well, no, not fluff-wise,
They
but
were not in the new. Back then, there was something like the index books, I believe, because the
yes,
system
and
changed
they
so
didn't,
radical.
and they never got a codex. Not until like several editions later.
Oh,
Okay.
well,
I think it was 6th edition they got.
but they had the second most powerful codex in 2nd edition, so they were making up for it.
Yeah. Anyways,
Anyways,
that was what. Why would I want that? Well, first of all, at some event somewhere, I was a witness to big Warhammer 40,000 battle, Blood Angels versus a Gene Stealer Cult force,
Very nice.
and
Very classic Space Hulk.
Yeah, very classic space.
the first of all, I kind of like the whole idea of being less than ideal soldiers. Most of them with, of course, some completely alien stuff in between them that was really powerful, and the whole looted, converted Imperial
Which they have
vehicles.
totally brought into the new edition.
So there was the whole conversion possibilities with the vehicles, and how would this religious cults or whatever kind of cult they are, in my case they would be I think in my case they would have, the Gene Stealers would have infested a labor union and make also to camouflage the insurrection with mass strikes and stuff like that. Probably it would be the Denim Workers United or something like that, just to make a reason for them to steal jeans.
I have a really cool steal jeans. I have a really cool color for painting jeans, actually.
That's
Jesus Christ. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Anyways, that and then of course for whenever I'm actually really choosing an army with the feels and not with any kind of reason, the opportunity to use a lot of purple ink.
That's actually really telling. When I'm choosing an army with the feels and not with the, I mean, you're about the aesthetics, the story, and most of the time you're about the gameplay, if I'm not mistaken.
I am.
Not the power level, but the gameplay, right?
Yeah, exactly. The how do they play? There are several play styles that I like, and there are several that I dislike, or at least that I don't. That I don't naturally feel comfortable with, and there's and that means a lot to me. How do they play?
You know what would be really cool? If you made a cult army, and we replayed the saga of Two Heads Talking, the story about how the Deathwing came to be.
Yeah, that would actually be a really cool
I
campaign.
mean, the novel is not that long. It's easy to read through and say, okay, what battles are important here, and
that would be really cool. But anyway, and then of course, as I said before, the really important part is how much purple ink can I use on this army.
yeah.
Of course, then when I couldn't play my Gene Stealer Cult Force, we were at this point.
So you chose randomly?
No, we were 4 weeks away from the tournament that I wanted a 1,500 point army, 40k army ready for.
Back then, 1,500 was a lot.
So it was it needed to be some kind of Space Marines because that was the only thing I could ping quick enough.
Yeah, they had the cult spray back then.
And then if it had to be Space Marines, I always had a problem with most Space Marine chapters. With the colors, like the bright colors of the Space Marines, I just can't see a super soldier of the future going onto the battlefield wearing bright red or baby blue or
Bright red makes total sense if you look at half the planets in that universe.
yeah, okay. but
Baby blue makes sense.
yeah, but Dark Angels, first of all, were not that, and also they had like these guys in robes, which was kind of semi-cultish.
Would you stop?
Oh, come on, the Dark Angels, you can say a lot of good things about them, but they are very cultish.
Yeah.
The Imperium in general is very cultist. That's why everything is called cult.
Yeah. But like the look of the whole robes and the inner circle thing and stuff.
Yeah.
There was some fluff things.
I
that
like
made
how you just called all knightly orders in history a cult.
Yeah. Well, they were.
Just put it out there.
They were, and I'm also including the more modern ones, Freemasons and stuff like that.
Let's not get shut down by the Freemasons.
Oh yeah, really like the Freemasons, and you're not a gay club in any way whatsoever.
Anyways, back to 40k.
Yes, back to 40k.
Which is a guy I follow on Instagram who has some really nice pictures, by the way.
Yeah.
Back to 40k. You
Yeah.
should check him out.
Okay.
All right.
Anyways, yes. So I painted up some Dark Angels for that one, and I kind of fell in love with the Raven Wing part of it.
Because black is even easier to paint?
No, actually, I don't think black is very easy to paint.
When you monocolor your army, it is.
Yeah, well, I did try to highlight them and stuff like that, and black is really when you're. Back then, I found black really difficult to highlight compared to green, but that was one. But at least I could do it fairly quickly, and I had painted up the 1,500 points, ready for the tournament. Not painted very well, but with a, if I have to say it myself, an okay tabletop standard.
I have seen the army, and I'd say.
Excluding my scouts that were completely messed up.
Yeah, I was getting to that. But anyway, when you go to the store in Copenhagen and watch people play, most armies that are speed painted look terrible because people have not cared about staying within the lines.
Yeah.
And as I'm trying to prove and teach people with my tutorials, you can just put that extra minute in,
Yeah.
and you can actually make a really clean, fast paint job.
Yeah.
And I think you succeeded in that with your army, because when
Yeah.
you just look at the army, you don't see blobs and globs
No,
of paint
that's
anywhere. It's clean colors, it's transfers.
Yeah.
There are no transitions. There are a lot of details that have just been ignored. And
Since this was just as third edition got released, there are not that many transfers left on those minis, but that was years and years ago, and they never got varnished.
no, but when I first saw it,
Yeah.
and I think that is, and especially considering back then, not a lot of people had a clue in the world on how to paint.
Yeah.
I mean, for
I didn't.
I mean, we managed to do the Necron army, and the first portion of the first 1,500 points in a night, pretty much. Right? No, what, first 1,000 points in a night, and then I spent another night for the next 500.
Yeah.
But that was with the new inks.
Yeah.
And the last units we added was even with the airbrush.
And a lot more years of painting experience than I had back then.
Yeah, definitely. But actually, I think the thing that really makes it fast was all these technical paints. I mean, we just put texture paints on the bases.
Yeah.
We used inks. We used edge paints so that we didn't have to sit and thin the transitions. We could just glop them on the eyes, and then a glaze, and bam, that's an eye. And
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what they're talking about.
but you couldn't do that back then. Was my point.
Yeah. Especially me. I definitely couldn't do that back then.
Um,
But so I picked that one up and I played with it and I lost horribly. Most of my games, I had 3 games in total. One was, well, I never got tabled.
That is very expensive for 3 games.
Well, I did play with them on further on a bit, and I did expand a bit on them.
you didn't throw them in the bin after that.
No, I didn't do that. As I said, I did have a couple of friends who were playing 40k.
That passed.
One of them played Imperial Guard, and the other guy played Chaos. I had some other ones who were more French friends. There's one Elder player, and then another Guard player, and 2 Orc players there. That was actually the only Marine player around.
That's kind of weird.
That's kind of
Especially-
rare.
Yeah, that was.
I was
really
like,
rare.
I was the Orc player.
Yeah.
And then there were all the Marine players, and then there was a single Tyrian player.
Yeah.
And when you play Orcs in 2nd edition, and all you run into are Angels of Death, who had an amazing codex, Space Wolves, who had the most up codex I have ever seen. Well,
That was the one where they had +1 ballistic skill,
all
right?
Space Wolves grew up as hunters on Fenris.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, shooting the wildlife that lives on the ice rock.
Yeah.
There is some.
Yeah, but you don't go around and shoot as a child.
With your bowgun. Yes, you do. In
With your
no
bolt
way-
gun as a child?
It's just in no universe ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, because of that was the explanation of why they all had +1 ballistic skill.
Yeah.
Added to that, they were insane in assault.
They were
Space Wolves were just not fun back then.
I think just to add a little thing to the spatial things, because when I sort of got into 40k gaming, living on the stories of how OP Space Wolves were.
Yeah.
Mainly from Errant and
Yeah.
a bit from you and stuff like that. Anyways,
Yeah,
then I
they're
got
not
picked
people
up.
with stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a tabletop RPGer as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I played some Deathwatch.
Yeah.
And when you pick up the core rulebook for Deathwatch, and you look at the stats for Space Wolves, it's very interesting. All the other chapters have very relevant, at least one combat ability.
Yeah.
They have pluses to perception and basically what's it called, the charisma stat. It's called something or other. But basically, they are good at talking to people and they can spot things, but they don't do shit in combat.
Oh, I was about to ask if they have
kind of funny,
bonuses for
because
camping.
I only ever played one Deathwatch campaign, but basically the whole campaign was we were basically a group of Space Marines that in every single situation we got into said, I wish one of us was a Space Wolf because they would have been able to fix this problem.
Okay, but mechanically they were.
needed
until
some-
Errant
we-
came out, they were pretty underpowered.
After reading the
Yeah, I'm not talking about it. Well, we never had any problems with combat. It was like all the we're not in combat. now. I wish we had a space wolf to like be charismatic and talk to people with their people skills.
Shouldn't that be an Ultra Smurf?
Ultra Smurfs have it as well, but but the thing is,
nobody wants Ultra
Well,
Smurf.
they also
You're never
have-
longing to have an Ultra Smurf around.
Actually, I kind of want to paint the Gilliman model. Just because
and
it's a
that's the thing.
Primarch. And it's-
This part will probably be censored.
No, okay. If we're going there, let's go there.
and
No, don't tell me what you want to do with Gulliman.
I just want to paint it so I can step on it, but okay.
Okay, that's fair.
No, I'm
I
kidding. I
actually
actually think it's a lovely model.
And I think that the Ultramarines chapter is I think that they've gotten a lot of flack, which
Yes.
they don't necessarily deserve.
I-
As a
I-
chapter.
Agree.
Actually, I would say Ultramarines got annoying when Matt Ward started retconning them to being super
Yeah.
Space Marines that could never fail at anything
Yeah.
and never do anything morally dubious.
Yeah, that is totally wrong. But what they are, along with the successive chapters, is at least until the new lore has come along, and before Matt Ward as well, they were the backbone of the Imperium.
And now they are again in a
And
good way.
and another thing that's very important about the
Actually, not the
Ultramarines, and
backbone;
that's,
they're just the skeleton.
they need to
they're-
be.
they're holding up
they,
the Empire.
They
Yeah.
need what they are game wise is they are the baseline of the Space Marines. They are the standard that all the special chapters differ from. And to my mind,
No, yeah, because that is really not it. They are the Space Marines, as I understand it, who were designed to actually be useful when the war ended.
yeah,
No, they were not designed to do
Oh,
that. They
but-
chose to do that.
Or rather, Gilliman had a big aspect of him was that.
Yeah.
Him and Magnus, actually.
Him and
Magnus,
Magnus.
and Fulgrim to some extent.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is like game-wise, what they are is they are the Space Marines. All the other chapters that have their own codices are the special. Are talking about how do they differ from the Ultramarines?
Yeah, yeah.
Where are they better and where are they not so good? That's
Basically, like the
space.
humans in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Where I see the Ultramarines being really cool is that they are the ultra disciplined soldiers.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, nothing can break an advancing Ultramarine firing line because they will advance according to the Codex.
Yeah.
They will not suddenly do crazy feats of heroism. They will not flee. They'll hold formation. They'll do what they're supposed to, and their guns will shoot at the proper targets at all times.
Yeah,
And
then
they will
they
get
will
shit
actually fall
done.
back
Yeah.
if it is according to the
Exactly.
Codex. Whereas, for example, Imperial Fist will not fall back.
no,
Yeah.
They simply won't. Then there might be the stupidest idea ever to not fall
they
back.
probably won't advance either.
No, they will be standing here in their fortress.
Maybe, and if they don't have a fortress, they will build one.
Yes. Again, with the Death Watch thing, where
Yeah.
they are extremely skilled at building fortresses.
Text to speech device again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really
If
like.
you haven't seen, if the Emperor had a text-to-speech
They
device,
have.
then how the hell do you wind up here?
Yeah, exactly. They found Alpha Bruiser before they found this.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think the Ultramarines as a chapter is really cool, and I think the new lore with Gilliman being back. First of all, it totally took me by surprise that he would come back before Vulcan, before Russ, and before the Lion, because the way I saw it, it was like, okay, he'll come back when the Emperor comes back, because those two are as good as dead in their stasis situations. And
But I think it makes a lot of sense.
it makes a lot of sense, and it makes the story better because they upped the scales. They added Gilliman to the Empire and the Imperium, and he has taken over.
Yeah.
Now we have a Primarch to actually match Magnus on the other side. But then it's not that dangerous. What do? Oh, Cadia falls, and we rip the galaxy in half.
Yeah.
Creating the Dark Imperium.
Yeah.
Boom. Now it's suddenly really, really interesting.
Yes.
And then if you flash over the lore, yes, sure, it seems like Gilliman is everywhere at once. But if you look at the timeline, he's actually doing all those things over 200 years.
Yeah.
So it's not that oh, would you stop? Ish. It makes sense that in 200 years he can go to Baal and save the Blood Angels and do a lot of other stuff.
Now we're just hoping for the next big revelation that the Golden Throne actually only kept the Emperor alive for like 10 minutes.
I'm hoping that...
We know he's alive, because Gilliman actually had a conversation with him.
He says.
I'm pretty sure Gilliman had a conversation with him. Because Gilliman would not make up a conversation that would make him doubt the Empire.
Or he thinks.
No, I do not. And that's where I think we get into...
Yeah.
And that's the problem I have, which is when people begin to think that everything the Imperium is built on is a lie.
Yeah.
And like... And I want to make it... I think, at least in my mind, Terra might not be pure. It definitely not pure. But in the Golden Throne, in the room of the Golden Throne, even if you are Fate Weaver, you are going to get your ass handed to you by something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're a Harlequin, because they dodge.
Harlequins are not the enemy of whatever is in the
Actually, they came
Golden
to
Throne.
talk to him. And he probably knew that.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
And the custodians did.
Yeah. And Fate Weaver is not his friend.
No.
Even if some people have these crazy ideas and stuff.
Like he is Fate Weaver and all that. No, anyway.
No, but what I mean is, I think the death of the Emperor
would be a good thing. However, when we're talking about the backbone of the Empire, I still want to bring back to the God, because in Bram Gaunt, as he's called, Gaunt's Ghost, there is a very interesting conversation or thought process with him, where he talks about wanting a few flyers, and but what he very much wants to do is bring in just more guard, because they are the backbone of the Empire.
Okay, so I set up a prediction first.
What's wrong with you guys? Do you want to listen to this?
I thought we could have a quick game of 7th edition while you were talking.
or Talisman, for that matter.
Anyway, it's been great, guys. Apparently we want to talk a bit about the law and not about the army selection. So come back next week and we'll continue that, and then then we might actually derail to army selection.
Yeah.
Point.
So
We're good at derailing.
this has been Night Errant, and if you want to improve the content of this channel, please
Send us some rails.
or click the link below and jump over to Patreon. Throw $1 in the general direction of the Errant painting project, and 100% of the money, except for the little bit that Patreon takes, will be used to
Buy rails.
maintain and improve the channel, basically. And right now we could really use some rails.
Yeah.
Also, if you're a Patreon, you will have access to the Patreon community page, where you can tell us what you really want us to talk about and stuff, and we'll actually really try to stay on track for a subject
At least 30 seconds.
No, I will.
If you want to hear about Gaunt's Ghosts, let us know on Patreon in the closed community section, and I will promise you that Sleeping Bear will get a whole episode just to talk about that.
Alright.
But I won't be there. See you next time, and bye-bye!
And let's...
Jeg klipper lige det her ud, men du er nødt til at begynde at tale om din guards snart, så vi kan starte et nyt afsnit, hvor vi så faktisk prøver at tale om The Imperium og lov.
Ja.
Fordi det her er et afsnit om, hvad for en her spiller du over.
Det er rigtigt.
Ja, det er rigtigt. Sorry, jeg overvejede det også flere gange.
Ja, men I skal ikke sige sorry, det er mig, der narrator. Jeg bliver bare så grebet af snakken.